Welcome to the Enchanted Earth podcast, where you will hear stories of nature with the power to transform our lives. These sacred stories are begging to be shared now. So listen in as my guest today shares one of their own. Welcome. Today we have with us Darlene Shopman, and let me tell you a little bit about Darlene. Darlene Shopman wears multiple hats as an artist, designer, architect, and an advocate for children with medical complexities. Her background in feng shui and human nature-centered design plays a pivotal role in her advocacy work. So welcome today, Darlene.
Thank you, Maureen. Nice to be here.
Now, just for those listening, Darlene and I are very close, and although we are on opposite coasts, we've only seen each other in person twice, but we are like soul sisters.
We are.
And we met at a very important workshop, I think for both of us. I think it came at a really pivotal time in both of our lives on sacred ceremony and connection to the earth. Really powerful. So I am just so excited that we finally got together today to do a little chat. And I would first like to ask you a question about your childhood in relationship to nature. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I grew up in a forest setting, which really informed me about life. I was always a very curious child, and there was just a whole world out there, which is, I say out there, it's within ourselves. But I was lucky to be able to have that connection with the earth and with plant life. My parents were avid gardeners. Didn't really like the gardening part. I think I liked more of I do now, but I see the importance of eating good, healthy vegetables and love growing also flowers. And they just bring me so much joy and just the way they grow. I think what really helps learn about how we need to be supported as people the way that we support plants. So that's something that I bring back into my design work and also just around advocacy, the way people need to be supported in general in systems and things like that. So it entwines. But yeah, as a child, I just loved being in nature. I would climb trees. I would find insects and snakes and just hang out with them all. It was just my connection with nature was really strong. Yeah. So
Okay. So yeah, I think about my childhood, and in a way, aspects of what you just said, I would agree with. One thing that I'm curious about, because you are a very highly sensitive person, I would say I'm sensitive, but I'm not a highly sensitive person. I think I've grown into that more as an adult. But I think you were as a child, and I'm just curious, did you have a sense of kind of the fairy realm and being able to like a conversation with aspects of nature? Just curious.
I did, and I think that does bring me to later in life when you're trying to analyze it all and trying to figure out what it all means. As
You
we
mean
all
be in our heads?
That's right. And my body keeps telling me to get back into my body right now and back to earth. So some of the parts of that, of being extra sensitive, one of them is that I noticed that I connected with a field of some sort. So if it would be the fairy realm or whatever people see visually, I would say that it was this relationship with everything. And it would speak to me so that there would be signs everywhere and I would notice them and it would just guide me and it would comfort me. And I think everyone has that connection. I almost want to call it, in a way, our Indigenous connection. And I really honor the Indigenous people of our world who still really hold that and really ground that. And I think they are a profound people that have gone through a lot. And I just, yeah, I really honor the fact that is what they hold for us as humanity and the planet, even after so much colonization happened and terrible things. But I think we all have that innate quality in us. We all are Indigenous. We all come from a root, and we're very disconnected with that as a whole, as what I see. And I think that nature can teach us how to be there again. And I almost want to call it a home, like it's like finding your way home. And it offers that connection with yourself, because I think one of the important aspects, people can just walk in nature and say, oh, I'm being part of nature, but you really need the connection within yourself and within nature. So that connection with yourself can open up from nature if you're open to allowing it to come in. And I think that's the
Right.
key. Yeah.
Yeah, it all rests here, I think. We're open-hearted. We're allowing ourselves to have that flow of dialogue between us and nature. Or we can walk in nature, like you said, but be closed, be like
Yeah.
guarded, and not allow anything that we can't understand in our rational mind to get through. So we just hold ourselves. It's something that I'm really curious about, getting into that open hearted state and how our experiences can be so much richer when we're in that place.
Yeah.
But sometimes our experiences, I don't know. I'm curious too. I really don't know. When you said you were, as a child, you had a sense of being guided and communicated with. It is interesting that although I cannot say that I liked saw fairies or talked to fairies or elves or gnomes or any other kind of flower spirits or tree spirits, I did have a sense as a child of some kind of observer, some kind of presence there watching over me. And yeah, and I that's pretty much been throughout my life, but I've gotten a little deeper into that. Yeah, it's that being open to the imagination and the imaginal realm.
Yeah. And then having a sense of wonder and curiosity, I think, is key to finding that, or having that connection, because when you're closed off, you're not open to seeing what's around you. So, with the way my life goes, and I really truly feel blessed that I have that connection. And I don't know, I will thank then myself for having that as a child. But I'm able to, everything speaks to me. An eagle will fly by and at the right time, and it and just explain, like, telling me something. And everything that happens like that is just like in synchronicity. And I just, there's no other explanation for it. When you open your eyes to it, you, and your heart, especially your heart, it's all around you. And it's so beautiful, and it's so easy to get lost in that. In, I think at one point in my life, I was, or for a huge part of my life, I think I was really scared of humans, because they did represent that disconnect from nature for me. I didn't have many humans around me that I noticed that really connected the way I did. And I think when that's where I was brought up, I think maybe if I was in an Indigenous tribe, I would have felt completely at home, and probably, yeah, just was able to communicate maybe even on higher levels, because I would be fully immersed. But yeah, like, in, when I look back, there were some moments. There was a time, and I don't know what kind of spirit that was. I know I've barely told anyone this because I probably mentioned it to an adult when I was younger and they just thought, Darlene, you're just daydreaming or you have whatever and just shut it down. But I did see a spirit once when I was actually falling out of a tree that I was climbing and I probably would have died. I was quite high up. And then something that looked like an angel just pulled me up and put me back on the branch. And it was, yeah, it was very amazing. And I don't know and can't explain anything about it, but I just felt like I was being protected. Maybe it just wasn't my time and I needed to do more in life. I don't know. And maybe these things happen more often. But I do find that children are more open to these different realms and it gets shut down quite quickly, I think, because of the way of the world that we're in. Yeah, unfortunately that kind of cuts us off from that connection and unless you carry on just on your own.
So I resonate so deeply with that. And my hope is that those memories, even though they were shut down, are still there. And that hearing other people talk about something that maybe triggers that memory will bring it back up and will allow people to really experience it again in their hearts and find comfort and meaning, deeper meaning. I think this is what one of the things that we need to do in this evolutionary process. I believe that we're currently in as humanity. We're undergoing a huge evolutionary process.
Yeah. Yeah. And there is, yeah, I know. I think I mentioned it just the other day. I said, come on, we need to get out of our heads and back into our body. We need to be, and that is what our ancestors have taught us and left traces of that information. And it's innate with around us. And some of the lucky people that were able to read the literature or get the stories passed down, I feel like it's their duty to pass that on. And I think that, yeah, we're at a time where we really need as many people as possible to be able to carry those messages from the ancestors. And how we found them or how we came across them will look different because we are a very fragmented society. But you can find information in books, thankfully, or from teachers or people and be able to bring those messages back. And I think it is really important in order to do that work to be grounded and deep, to be connected with yourself and nature. And it is really challenging in this day and age just because of the way of the world. Like it's for myself even and my body keeps telling me just be grounded, sit down on the ground, go outside and but I need to do this, but I need to do that just to keep
Exactly.
up. So we all fall into it, but
Yeah, there's that, which is a really valid point. All the stressors that are around us in everyday life. And then on top of that, there's that stigma of you're just uh, not normal.
there's
Right?
also I think humans are creating the way of to survive, just basic survival. It's not right. It I don't think we're designed to be stressed out and to have all this material belonging and to think that's normal. I don't. I think that we're so beyond privileged and but privileged turning into something beyond privilege like the word spoiled. The word spoiled really means that you're done. You're not you're compost, right? But I think in order to change, we need to learn from that. And that what is I know that our minds like to protect us. So if there's a lot of fear in the world, we're going to be trying to protect ourselves.
So,
Yeah.
do you have a story that is begging to be shared today?
Yeah, I think I'm maybe in the line of what we're talking about, the world stressed out in their heads, needing to go back in their bodies. This one might not be that mystical or whatever, but I just noticed that recently I've experienced quite a bit of medical trauma with my son, who's very medically fragile. And so there's a lot of PTSD that comes with that. And I just need to work through it. And there was something that triggered it, and my body started shaking. And I was actually told that's a way to release trauma when your body actually naturally shakes. So that was great. But I was just in a state and I really didn't know what to do. That's all. I was shaking and I just knew that I needed to do something for myself. So I just ran out into the garden and I just started working in the garden. I had all these things I needed to do. I think I needed to eat even, but I just had to channel this energy into the earth. And I it just was such a profound experience. I just feel like something like that. We try to go do all these therapies and whatever it is. And I have a lot of experience with that myself. And you go out into the garden, and all of a sudden, everything starts changing and shifting. And it's like the garden is already like you're nurturing, the garden is starting to nurture you. And it's like that field that I'm talking about. It's also you put out something and it comes back. We hear that a lot. But this was something that just really happened in a very physical way. And then my mind became very clear after that. I was grounded and it was such a beautiful, profound experience. And this was just maybe a couple weeks ago or something. So that's why I'm bringing it up because it just is very fresh. But I do feel that there is like that healing ability of the earth and of your surroundings. Like it's so important to have because I think again, the more and more people start getting in their heads and the more are the way the world is going, it's so important to remember who we are and where we are. I think is really crucial and it doesn't have to be this big magical thing. It can just be just going out in your garden or going into the park in the city or wherever it is and sitting on the ground and connecting with a tree or whatever it might be, or just going for a walk and start opening up to your surroundings. And yeah, I know it might not sound like a very, yeah, like magical story, but it was just it was so beautiful to feel nature taking care of me. And I think that was the key. It was like, thank you. Like you're supporting me. And when I'm trying my best to support you, I'm a mess right now, but thank you. And I think again, like just noticing that and noticing what happens with nature. I find too often when I'm in a state and I'm in that really mode where my intuition is opened up, I'm at one with my heart and I don't feel any obligations. I'm just being who I am. I'll find the funniest creatures looking at me, then the squirrels staring at me. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Or the deer or the whatever it is. But you just attract that when you're in that state, and it's so beautiful because and then you just like, "Oh, we're together. I get it." Like, we're all one, and it's just such a great confirmation, and I think a lot of those signs get missed by people because 'cause I'm sure they're there watching you or whatever, you just have to notice.
It's so true, just being observant. And it's almost, I love that thought of when we're being authentically who we are meant to be.
Right.
It's like we're broadcasting that out, and that is harmony. That is the harmony of the universe when we are in our authentic flow, and nature is attracted to it.
Yep.
Yeah, it just makes me think of, like, our pets too. I have cats and I have a dog, and when I need them, of course, when I'm upset, they know it right away, and they will lay on your lap, right? Or they'll come over and they'll nudge you and remind you that they're there. It's like nature just really responds when we're open-hearted.
Yeah. 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 So beautiful.
Yeah. And feeling the embrace of nature. I think many I know I can identify with that, and I'm sure many listeners have had an experience where they're overwhelmed or distraught and just have it's like almost a reaction to just go outside. I
Yeah.
know I had a very emotional experience where my husband and I were having an argument around the dinner table. It was awful. And I just got up and I just walked out of that. I practically ran out of the house and I just walked around the tree by the trees and around this big beautiful field. And I was just crying and lost. And I just needed to be out there and that expansive feeling. And it was dark too. So it wasn't like I felt like comfortable. So it wasn't like people are all going to be looking at me. But I had the ability to be alone and
Mhm.
just be with my emotions. And I just felt the embrace of the sky, the
Mhm.
field, the trees, the breezes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't matter what time of day or season or whatever it is, but it's just really there all the time to just like really, when you're open to it, to be supported. And yeah, I just love it. I think, especially for people, I think I was saying when I was always scared of humans. And that's just knowing that, because a lot of humans are actually scared of nature, which is a strange thing. Be careful of the bears or the cougars or the this or the snakes or whatever. Snakes still scare me, but there's reasons why. Also because of our society. But the fact is that it's not something to be scared of. It's actually um something that's there to help you. And I don't know, it there was a story that rang true to me, and for some reason I thought of it for this podcast or whatever. But I don't know where I heard it from or who taught it to me, read it in a book, whatever it might have been, but it was actually a tribe somewhere in the rainforest, I believe. And there was a little boy who went out, and I think he got scared by something in nature. And he came back, and I guess he told the elder that he was scared. And the elder was trying to explain it's okay. And no, but I'm really scared. And so I guess they went through a ritual, and he made it really clear that it was so important to, and I think he had to maybe isolate him too from the rest of the tribe, that because fear would infect the entire collective. So they worked through it, and they worked through it, and they protected the collective. And so that's, when I think of survival, I think that is survival to me. And that's completely the opposite now. And as I was bringing up before, but yeah, it just always, yeah, it worries me about just our collective and our humanity in the direction it's going. Yeah.
Right.
But
Because fear
mhm.
spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of energy. Maybe I have to be conscious of my language, but it takes a lot of effort to not just fall into that fear, to
Mhm,
stand your ground in a centered stillness, neutral place. Because
mhm.
it's so easy to just get swept away. I guess it's like being in a river and everyone's just taking the river down and you're holding on to the bank in your sovereignty.
Yeah, and if you don't, then that's when everything is in disharmony and everything's coming at you, and I have noticed it many times. We learn so much from ourselves and as well, right? So when those things happen and when you're in that state, you are really attracting a lot of disharmony. Even I was when I lived in Europe for 8 years and I came back to that place where I grew up, that safe refuge in the forest was scary to me all of a sudden because there are bears and there are cougars and there are things that came into my head by other people and yeah, so I had to just do my own little ritual initiation back into the forest, and I just forced myself to walk through the forest at night by myself, a few times because 'cause I'm just like, "What is this? Oh, this doesn't make sense." And then I felt good. So I just it is important to we can get off track and just notice it, but yeah, it's life, it's our journeys, and we all have different journeys that we need to honor because we are learning from them. And yeah, but I do find that it's important to get back or to notice if you're going off the path, um, to bring yourself back. And nature is a great way to do it just because it's really just part of us. And I think that's the part that a lot of people think it's separate, but it is us, our bodies and nature, the earth. They're all connected, they're all one. We are representations of it. Of course, I studied feng shui, so I understand the elements and the cycles and the way things move and the way that connects to our organs and our health. And we're wired the exact same way. So we have a whole universe within ourselves that represents the earth. And I think, again, with the way things have developed over the years, it just got very analytical and very fragmented because we needed, you look at medicine too, it's just looking at the function of one thing without connecting it to all the parts.
Oh, yeah.
You can't see how something functions by isolating it from the rest because it functions with the rest.
Mhm.
So I feel like right now with systems in the world and the way things are, we're just like this was what we were born into, a system that tries to inform us who we are and what we need to do. And it comes from lost for words, but the diversity that we're fighting for right now is that true authentic piece of ourselves. And the thing is we shouldn't even be fighting for it. It should just be part of society. So I think that when systems, I see that too. So you have somebody telling you what's wrong with you or how rather than working together as a partner and listening to what each other has to say in a sense that, yeah, like I don't know, we become numb, like we don't listen to ourselves then because somebody else knows it better. Let's put it that
Right.
way. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
these are my things that these pieces that we are up against all the time, right? And just don't notice it.
Yeah.
Just
But
don't notice it. Yeah.
I think you'll agree with me that we are in profoundly transformative times where things are really changing fast. And I think although it looks like we're moving into more of a negative direction, I think the chaos that is required for transformation
Mhm.
gives the impression of most of us don't like change. I think that's
Mhm.
part of our feeling of safety is based on stability and everything stays the same. And that is just such an improbability that that's not part of our human experience. But
Mhm.
change and really fast transformative growth, I think, is coming in the next decade or two.
I agree. And yeah, and it's a wake up call for people to change. And yeah, and in order, usually you need to feel uncomfortable before that happens, unfortunately. But to be comfortable in something that actually probably isn't comfortable is an interesting thought too, because I
Right.
think that we just get numb to that, and then we lose our connection with ourselves, with nature, and that's what happens. And we get a lot of illness and things that again seem distant from us, but they're actually all within the way we're maybe not functioning properly. And yeah, and just I think people really need to just take a better look within themselves and just have that sense of wonder within themselves. It doesn't have to be, oh, you need to be more responsible or accountable, work on yourself. No, just be curious. Who are you? What are you all about? You're diverse, you're authentic, you're unique. Who are you? What are you about? And then you just start creating this amazing dialogue with yourself, and the natural world can help show you too, which is great.
Yes. I think the gift of curiosity and wonder, I think that's the impetus for it
Mhm.
all. I
Mhm.
think when you
Yeah.
start there, I love that. Love that. Darlene, do you have any last words you would like to share with us before we part?
I Well, I think the work you're doing is amazing, and I just really think it's just such a great way to collect people's experiences. I believe we all learn from each other's experience, and that's how we can work together in this world, by informing each other. And like everything that we our whole social structure should be informed by all of us, by our lived experience. And that's some of the advocacy work I do. But I feel that, yeah, what you're doing and bringing these stories that are connected to nature, which is our nature, is just really important as a reminder to people to get more connected with themselves and with nature, and to open up that sense of curiosity and wonder, and maybe want even those experiences. Be like, I want to be able to talk to the tree, why doesn't the tree talk to me? But really it does. Just listen or just feel its energy or
Absolutely.
whatever.
And I always tell people it may not be a voice, it may not be an actual
That's right.
image of a being, but
Yeah.
you might just get a few words in your head or an idea or some
Yeah.
kind of knowing or feeling in
Yeah.
your body. We can receive that information in so many ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have the imagery, and we have, even together, we've experienced some pretty profound meditations. I think some of the key elements to that I wanted to say is that we were really connected to the earth when we did these meditations. And we went into the earth and into mountains, and we saw
Mm.
images of men with white beards. That's some of the things that are written in these books about shamanism. But that's a way to get deeper. But that's because, again, our ancestors can teach us those things, how to do that and how to access maybe deeper spirits and deeper connection with the earth. And yeah, and I was just so honored to be able to go there with a group and with you, and just was so amazed at some of the experiences I had that were so connected to the earth. Yeah. And on that note, just one of the things that I did want to mention was when I was doing some acupuncture for the earth acupuncture, it was some farmland and it was not producing blueberries the way it should. And so doing the acupuncture in spots where the energy needed it to be remediated or whatever was something I was taught how to do. But then I guess I'd never really done it on my own. And after it was done, like the field was glowing. It was just so beautiful. It was glowing with this beautiful energy and everything was in harmony. And to feel that and to know that harmonious connection from a child, for example, to that, it was really beautiful again because I felt, wow, I'm here to help and I can help heal the earth the way the earth has always supported me. Yeah, that was just a really profound experience. And I guess I just want to invite people that you can go quite a bit deeper into nature spirits, but also within yourself, like within meditation and just allowing yourself to go there. But one of the key, I think, pieces is just also to be grounded. And I learned that in funny ways too in some of the work that I did that I just didn't ground it. And then there was some interesting results. But yeah, anyway,
Yeah,
another end.
it's all about connecting to heaven and earth.
Mhm.
That is key. And then
Yeah,
coming into the heart where they meet. That's good.
exactly.
That's a real solid
Where they
place,
meet.
any kind of ceremony work or any kind of
Exactly.
inner work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on here today, Darlene. I am so
Uh,
glad we got an opportunity to schedule this. I know you're a very busy person, so thank you.
yeah. Thank you.
And for all of you listening and watching, if you like it, please share, subscribe, and please comment. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And you will find more information about Darlene and a website for her below this video. So thank you so much for coming on today and have a wonderful day. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for being a part of the Enchanted Earth podcast. Comment below, share, and most of all, please hit the subscribe button so that you'll hear when we publish another inspiring episode. You can visit us at luminous-spaces.com for more information on our online courses, retreats, and offerings. Thank you and have a magical day.